Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, two blokes chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
The man we're about to speak to is apparently digging a hole at Coles, and I assume what he's doing with the auger, that's the tool that you
well done, Neil.
Is just going down into the hole at Coles. Do you see what I did there, Shawnee?
Good morning, Mr. Butler. Hello, Rob. How are you guys going?
Morning, Simo. Welcome aboard. Have you got the smirk off your dial yet after what was a very, very fine game of AFL football from your son on Thursday night?
Yeah, no, it was great, Rob. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just got to thank the boys from YBE that have let me just put the tools down for a minute, boys, have a quick chat. So that's very nice of the boys.
Well done, fellas.
Yeah, great stuff.
Now, Sean, my mind goes back to the day you were kind enough to arrange for Sean to come... Sam, sorry, we keep getting them mixed up. Sam to come into this very studio and talk to us after it had been confirmed that the AFL side, Geelong, were taking him as a father and son. And that particular year, he was the only person who knew for certain that he was going to be drafted at that stage. And we had a chat to him before he went off on a tour to Africa somewhere. Scrawny little lad. I didn't see what I saw Thursday night coming from looking at him in those days. But did you always have a bit of a belief hidden behind the bias, perhaps, that he could have played a game of AFL footy of that level?
Not really, Rob. I was sort of more hopeful than confident. At 64 kilos when he made his debut, I was just so rapt for him to get an opportunity. That was 3 years ago now, I think it was. So he was in a bit of a hiatus then for the last 12 months, but we, as Go Footy Live commentators, got to see a lot of him because he played all year in the VFL last year. And, I really saw him develop and flourish under that system where... who's the VFL coach, Neil, for Geelong?
Shane O'Brien.
Shane O'Brien did a really good job with him. I think he got a lot of exposure to a lot of footy through the midfield, which I think really made him step up a little bit and helped his game to no end.
Well, we did find out this morning that VFL's not proper footy, but at least it was a place for him to develop his skills.
Good morning, David Barnes. Sorry, to that caller who sent that through. Also, hello to Kay, who's having a listen as well, by the way.
Good morning, Kay.
I think that, winning a best and fairest at VFL level is an achievement in itself, and he had some pretty strong competition from players that played a lot of footy with him. The Zach Guthrie's and the Charlie Constables and all these people who were there. But he won it by a street. He was clearly a standout at VFL level. It was always going to be a question mark, wasn't it? Into a game where two top sides were playing one another on a very small ground, so there wasn't a lot of space to run. But he just lapped it up.
I guess that gets a little bit diluted, Neil, because, the likes of Constable and Fogarty and these guys, experienced senior level footy throughout the course of the year, so they didn't get to play the amount of games that Sam played. So I guess when you look at it on that level, Sam probably played more games and therefore had a greater opportunity to score votes. But, yeah, look, take nothing away from him. I was just so proud of the way he developed mentally as much as physically. I thought they were really challenged in a final against Port Melbourne there one day that we commentated, and it was a pretty physical match, and I was just walked away from that game thinking, I might have seen a boy become a man. So, I was really proud of that. And to answer Rob's earlier question, I've just been waiting for him to get the opportunity at senior level, Rob, because I just felt that maybe that next level might suit him because he tends to have pretty good footwork and makes good decisions, and that tight SCG ground sometimes suits people who have got that repertoire behind them, I guess.
Yeah, he was very good in the clinches. You're right about his decision-making, brilliant close-in handballer, and it's just those dinky ones that, unless you're watching really closely, you might miss. They don't miss them on the stat sheet, but it releases someone away from a stoppage, and that's, in this day and age, vital. So I don't see any reason why in 3 to 4 years he can't be a genuine inside midfielder rather than that sort of wingman outside runner role that he was playing on Thursday night. Yeah,
well, I think we'll just take it 1 week at a time, Rob. He's out of contract at the end of the year, and he's probably, with the list size is possibly going to shrink. He's possibly on a bit of a slippery slope. So, yeah, let's just get through Collingwood next week, and hopefully he can have a nice performance again. And yeah, it's a bit of an old cliche, but really in his situation with the COVID situation and the uncertainty of the season this year, it's really just a week-to-week proposition. But certainly his game on Thursday night will give him great confidence. And, I was talking to his manager, Liam Pickering, and he said that's sort of the breakout game that he needed to have for the whole footy club to see what he can do, and for also Sam just to believe that, that level suits him pretty good.
Because when he was playing games in 2018, there was always that sense he was filling in for somebody, wasn't it? You know, that he was always, you know, he'd come up, play a game, and then he'd be probably off back to the reserves. But it gave me the impression that this time around they've said, no, we're going to give you a go, and we're going to move Jack Stephen out for the week to give him that rest. It seemed like a vote of confidence in what he's been doing over the last 18 months, I would have thought.
Yeah, possibly, Neil, and also the system that Geelong provide. I mean, Zach Guthrie is in a similar body. You know, he was pretty scrawny and little when he started, and Sam and him got an opportunity when they were both young. And Zach at the moment, he's playing some amazing footy in the scratch matches that they're playing at the minute. The club have been so good that they send out the footage of those games, because we can't obviously go and watch. So they send out the footage of those games, and those boys are really flourished into some really nice footballers. So as Chris Scott said in his press conference the other night, that there's probably 6 or 8 blokes there that could come into that senior side, and you know, they wouldn't miss a beat. So if they're talking about batting deep and in this COVID situation, you know, the team with the most depth, I think Geelong are in a great situation.
And one of those, Jordan Clark, will, I would suggest, almost certainly be one of the 2 players that will come in to cover for Narkle and Duncan this week, and I'm quite excited to see what he's going to produce. We know how good he is. Maybe he was getting ahead of himself a bit, but the club have just put the hand on the chest and said, no, son, you do your penance and wait. I'm expecting him to come back and really show how good a player he is too.
Yeah, exactly right. He's a great little player, and I think he got senior exposure pretty quick, Rob, and sometimes you can get it. It's not your mental attitude, it's just that the hoo-ha of AFL level just doesn't let you settle down, and for him to come back at VFL level that we saw a couple of games last year, he probably wasn't quite, you know, we expect him to really stand out, but he probably didn't, and that can sometimes happen. You see that players with that sort of leg speed and can be really better suited to the higher levels. So, and don't forget Cocky, mate, what's his name? Nakai Cockatoo. Cockatoo.
Is he back in? He's back in action. You're watching him on the scratch matches?
Yeah, so that was his 3rd one back. He played limited time the first one, a little bit more the second one, and a full game apparently yesterday, and got through unscathed. So, yeah, he's in good touch, and I'd imagine that the club, because they've got a big opinion of him, so I'd imagine, you know, in the next 3 or 4 weeks he'd be a candidate to come back into that side as well.
Well, we probably should let you get back and dig your hole, because you're being paid to do this, so we better let you go. Before we do go, though, it seems that you used to be Sean Simpson, now you're Sam's dad. There has been a bit of activity in social media this week. There's one particular photographer that we both know very well who's been putting photographs up, including the photograph of you and Sam after he won the VFL Best and Fairest last night. I have one question for you. That shirt that you were wearing...
Was it doing a bit, was it?
Oh, mate, you would never wear it on TV. It's strobe. What's that about?
Oh, mate, I'm a fashion guru. Didn't you know that?
The young man turned up in a suit and tie, which was, very impressive. He took the tie off for the photo, and there's Dad looking like he's just stepped out of Lammy's.
I think I have. Actually, I'll tell you what.
You might have.
We'd been down on the pier. I think, remember they have that the grand final, you know, on the Thursday, the public holiday on the Friday, down on the pier. St. Joey's run a grand final lunch. I think I'd been to that during the day. So might have had a couple of sherbets and refreshments as well, Neil, I think.
Well, I tell you what, that shirt, it's going to have its own hashtag. We've introduced the socks up hashtag for Sam. I reckon that shirt might become the next hashtag.
Mate, I'll tell you what, I'll see if I can lend it out to you one day.
Oh, mate, I wouldn't fit into it. Sean Simpson, father of Sam, and of course also Geelong legend as well, part of the GoFooty.live team. Thanks for joining us during your work break.
Good on you guys, great to chat.
All the best.